Well, welcome everyone. I'm Marilyn Wills with the League of Women Voters in Tyler, Smith County, and we are continuing our Coffee With sessions with our local elected officials. And we're really pleased today to have Brad Curtis. He's Tyler City Councilman for District 6. Welcome, Mr. Curtis. We really are pleased to have you. I don't know how much you know about the League of Women Voters, but our mission, a lot of people think of us as having a mission of registering voters, but it really goes a lot deeper than that. We don't want to just register voters. We want to educate voters and educate them about how their government works, who their elected officials are, and how they can have a voice in what's going on in their communities. Okay. So that was the initial idea for having the Coffee With, and we've been really pleased with the conversations that we've had with the mayor and the other city council people. So again, thank you for joining us. And Absolutely. We've got a real variety of questions to ask you today, and we'll try to keep it to just 1/2 hour. But I want to start with something I noticed on your bio on the website. It said that you had served on the airport board. Mm-hmm. And I also saw in the paper that about over $1 million is coming from COVID funds for the airport. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what it's going to mean for the residents of our area?
Well, I think that what I remember here, and when I was on the board, it was well before all the COVID stuff happened, but I think the money's going to come at a pretty good time because the airport was hit pretty hard with lack of travel, lack of use for the last year, and the exact areas where the money is going to be used, no, I can't. If our new airport manager was here, I know he could, but I do remember what you're talking about, that there seems to be money coming everywhere from the federal government with COVID money. So I do know that our new manager was well pleased that he was going to get some as well. And there's that airport board, I was amazed. There's always federal money coming into the airport. It's you could tell the federal government sees that establishing and building airports around the country is a high priority, because usually the matches are 80-20, 90-10 with the local community. So
that's good.
It's an extension of that.
You said there's COVID money coming in all different directions. So.
Yeah, so the city is getting like, I think the number was $21 million, I believe it was. And that we have not been told exactly where that money is going to get. It's limited, what I heard, so don't go say this in a presentation or anywhere, but was that it was either recreation type uses, water facilities, and I think there was a third, because there was some discussion on whether it would be used on the civic center, but it's not going to be now because that came in budget, so it won't be used on any of that.
All right. Okay, well, Tammy, are you next?
I am.
Oh, and I didn't introduce my colleagues here. Tammy Burnette is our Vice President for Voter Services. Okay. And LaRonda Hamilton is our Vice President of Community Relations. So
I saw you all on the website this morning.
Oh, you did?
He did his homework.
Yes. That's right. A little bit anyway.
Wish our students would. Councilman Curtis, thank you so much for being here today. I know how much your time is valuable, and getting this information out to people in Smith County is really helpful, and we do appreciate the time that you're spending with us today. The first thing I'm going to ask you about is the housing crisis. Affordable housing and government funding for housing has historically been a problem in Smith County and contributes to homelessness. The problem has been exacerbated by COVID. What would you do differently, if anything, to address these shortages of affordable housing in Tyler?
Well, let's see. Well, we've got one facility going in, development going in now behind the new fire station, and the name of the development escapes me, but I was pretty impressed with that. I don't know if you've seen the prototypes of the homes that are going to be built in that development. There were, I think 8 or so, or maybe there's more than that room for that, but
mixed use.
Do what? Mixed use? Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that's mixed use. I think they're single family homes is all it is.
And they're mixed levels of income. Is that true? Or
I don't think there was. What was different about it, what I thought was unique, was that the front of the homes are actually faced into a park, and so the garage is facing the street, and the inside, they basically had a park inside the facility. So it's very unique, and the builder said he didn't come up with it as being done in other areas. So, but it'll be the first time it's been done here. Now, the question is, where do you draw the line at affordable housing? Because I don't remember what that number is exactly, what they think they're going to sell them for, and hopefully they still can with the inflation that we're having right now in construction materials, because it's pretty high and pretty fast the way things are changing, and that's not helping anything as far as affordable housing. But so historically, what we've usually done is use CDBG money in neighborhood services, and that's what this development is. And I'd also, I'd been on Habitat board years ago, and I know that and I think what the situation is the city cannot use its CDBG money with Habitat, who I think is probably more set up to build homes than the city is, due to a board issue. I think it's that some makeup of the board. I can't remember the exact thing, but it seems like something that could get fixed to be able to use CDBG money better, because that's a pretty good supply of money that comes every year. What to do differently? I think that one of the easiest things, I really would not want to see the city getting competition, even though there hadn't. I guess you could argue, well, what competition is there for affordable housing right now? There's not a whole lot. That's probably true with builders for that. What I would like to see the city do is make it easier and less expensive for developers to build affordable housing. I think that to me, that's the best role for the city, not to get involved in the home building business.
Thank you very much.
That's what I would do differently.
Very, that was wonderful. Thank you. The next question is healthcare. I currently teach healthcare administration at Tyler Junior College, so it's a subject that I'm very passionate about. The question that I have is, Tyler is known for having some of the most outstanding healthcare facilities and resources in Texas. Due to the economic impact of COVID, what challenges do you see people are having gaining access to healthcare in Smith County?
Well, so we've received pretty regular updates on the vaccines. That's been every other meeting that Net Health and George Roberts has spoken to us about. I think my knowledge of that subject is probably going to be limited to that, in that, I'm not in the healthcare industry at all. I think that as far as the vaccines, have done a pretty good job in this community as far as what other communities have done, put it that way. I think it's been somewhat of a struggle just because it's new. We didn't have a plan in place to do what we had to do last year. But I think Net Health in the county and the city seem to have done a pretty good job. We had a lot of the numbers I've heard when they would come, people getting the vaccine here, how many people were from outside the county and even outside the state is astonishingly high, I would say. More than that, it would just be purely speculation, because I'm just not in that arena. But my concern would be just people out of their social networks, not going to see the doctor regularly. Well, you know, that would be a good one. I'm not going to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor's office or the hospital because I'm afraid I'll get sick. You know, putting regular visits off, things that you could catch if you were going on your annual visit, or even surgeries that were delayed. I do know a few people who had parents who had, I guess, that had cancer type surgeries that they didn't feel like was so serious that they had to be done immediately. Those get put off, but you know, an in-depth answer on that, I don't know that I'd be qualified to give. You should be telling me.
I do appreciate that, because that was an insight, you know, and I liked when you talk about people coming in from Dallas Fort Worth area. We've had lots of conversations with the hospitals, and because not only do we have a good supply, we also have hospitals that are in pilot programs because they're outstanding, where you are seeing people come from different areas. So that was a really on point answer. So thank you very much.
Sure, you bet.
Okay, so the question I have is about public improvements. As new development occurs, would you consider use fees on developers to cover increased service costs such as fire, police, parks, library, etc.?
Increase use fees on permitting process, you mean?
On developers to cover the increased service costs? Yes.
Well, let me say this. I would consider it, yes, for sure. I haven't thought about that. I do think that that fits in well with one of my, not concerns, but one thing I think as a city we want to make sure we do is that with the hospital, the medical school coming to town, and I've seen numbers from 10 to 15,000 people that's supposed to bring in. Not all at once, but over time. Well, that's a lot of growth in a fairly short period of time. And I do think that we're going to have to be ready for that. You know, you can't build for those people after they get here. You have to have the infrastructure ready for them. And that's going to cost some money. So I think that's a good idea as one of the ways to raise that money. So sure, I mean, I would be open to it. Let me put it that way.
Okay. One other question about quality of life. Looking forward to 2021 and beyond, what do you believe are the greatest challenges with respect to ensuring a good quality of life for all residents in your district specifically?
Good quality of life in my district. Well, I know that the survey that the city did with citizens, as far as that specific question, one of the top answer they gave was keeping crime low, and not just in District 6, that's the whole city. But so I think we do a pretty good job actually in the city. I think we're pretty lucky. I think that's why we get a lot of people moving here. I think we've got great citizens. I think in large part, everybody gets along great. So I think just to keep an eye on that, make sure we keep doing a good job of what we're doing as far as the crime rate all over the city, not just in District 6. Probably the other thing is to keep up with, I think we've done a good job on our parks. I think that's, what can I go do? That's something that our city provides, that we continue to develop and maintain our park system. And, just make sure that we have a healthy, functioning restaurant and entertainment industry. Right. That's something everybody wants. They want to know what do you have before they move here. So, and again, I think ours has fared better than most in the country. If you read newspapers and watch things, a lot of the country, big parts of it are still shut down.
Yeah.
So I think things like that. That's what people that's what they say they want anyway in those surveys.
Okay.
So I get to ask you about voting and elections. As you know, that the mission of the League of Women Voters is to make sure that people in Smith County are educated on who's running, what ballots are for us, and getting information out there. We have the Vote 411 that we ask questions from the candidates and we post them on there. So that's one of the most important things for the League of Women Voters. So the question that I have, we have had a very high turnout for 2020 election here in Smith County, as in most places, higher than we generally do even for national elections. But as you know, local elections are so critical to our daily lives, and yet we always suffer with very low turnouts. And
they fell off a little bit.
Yeah, we saw that on Saturday, we did.
Yeah.
So I have two questions with this. What can you do? And what do you think the community can do to emphasize the importance of voting in local elections?
Well, I think to increase the discussion of things going on. I'm still a newspaper reader. I still read the newspaper and read some of the others in Texas just to kind of keep up with what's going on. And I think that helps a lot. I would imagine that's probably part of the fall off is when people don't read their local paper. I guess maybe they see it in the TV news, what's going on. I guess they could do that. But that maybe the city, I'll tell you what, one thing I've been impressed with is getting on council is the information that we receive from City Hall of exactly what's happened since we met last week. Ed Broussard, the city manager, sends out something almost every day of here's what's happening in the city today. Here's what's happening in the city today. And I've lived my entire life in Tyler. And when I got on this, I realized I didn't know a quarter of what was going on in the city until I got into city government. Now, everybody can't do that all at the same time. So I think it's getting that information out there, probably in a different medium, because everybody's not going to start, ordering the paper to their door. Facebook. I know I watched the city council meetings on YouTube when I was in that interim between when we were supposed to have the election and the presidential election, just to kind of keep up with what's going on. That's a great format to be able to keep up with what's going on. So I think it's, in one respect, I think it's keeping it in front of people, letting them know what's going on. I do think it's a big advantage that what's going on, the city government is not the news all the time either. To me, when things are going well, they operate behind the scenes. The sewer's working, the water's working, the lights on street lights are working. So I guess in the news and talking about the accomplishments, maybe challenges that are upcoming, but not so much, not in the news as far as problems.
Okay, the second part of the answer, or not the answer, the question.
Yeah, give me the answer.
We can switch this. Would be, please share with us how you respond to my vote doesn't really count. And what are you doing in your district to make sure everyone has equal access to vote?
Well, easy though, on the first one, I would say that I've talked to a few, somebody I have in mind right now that who said, well, he fancies himself a libertarian, and I'm not sure he knows that some strict libertarians don't vote, but that's what he says. Oh, it doesn't matter my vote, and I just vehemently disagree with that. And my other response is, if you're not going to vote, then you don't get to gripe. I don't want to hear you say anything if you're not going to participate. And even though you feel like, well, who I voted for didn't win, well, so what? That's part of the process. You're never always going to win. That's not how it works. And what to do to encourage participation? Is that what you said? The second part? I think it needs to be, I think where to vote, when to vote needs to be clear. I think there's some miscommunication or a lack of communication there. And I think that should be a very easy to find information when you want to do it. Even if I want to know, I think I'd probably have to search around a little bit. I'd find it, but I'd have to search a bit. And there's a lot of people I know that aren't going to do that. Whether the different mediums of voting, I'm not real sure, even though I don't know locally, we would really even have a option on that. But I like having plenty of time for people to vote. I like voting in person just for control purposes, but I like, everybody's busy, everybody's got crazy schedules, especially if you're younger and you've got kids. I think it's real easy to say, man, I don't have time for that right now. Yeah. And, we don't want that. So I think keeping early voting, keeping the hours open as much as possible, having as many sites so you're not traveling too far to do it. So I guess things like that to make sure everybody can vote that wants to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay. Last question is of a criminal justice, which is what I teach.
Okay.
So criminal justice is a big interest to me. The question is, how will you and the city council support police officers as they face the most challenging law enforcement environment in our lifetime in terms of maintaining and building trusting relationships with the community and with race relations?
Well, first of all, I think it's going to be easy in the sense that, you know Chief Toller? You probably
Yes.
do. I have a hard time imagining somebody that doesn't like Chief Toller right off the bat. So he's easy to get to know. I've been astonished. I told somebody the other day, I said, if you want to know what's going on in the city of Tyler, ask Chief Toller, because he knows what's happening. Mm-hmm. I think that that we as a city, police department, mayor, and city manager and council be willing to have frank discussions about, hey, thankfully what we're seeing in other communities, not here, but say, hey, if that could happen there, it possibly could happen here too. So what things can we do to not have to respond to it here, but to prevent that from happening, or
Absolutely.
at least do as much as we can to prevent it from happening here. And I guess that would just be discussions behind the scenes to say, and I think from what I know, Chief Toller, he would be very willing to say, these are the types of things we ought to be considering. I think he would be. And kind of work from that perspective of, let's not wait for something bad to happen. Let's do something now and try to cut it off. And I think that's probably going to be a committee around a table where everybody looks a little different and say, hey, we all live here. It's all our community. What can we do to make Tyler a little better tomorrow than it is today?
Absolutely. It's definitely important that we are proactive and not reactive when it comes.
Yeah. I don't want to not only do I not want to be on city council, I just don't want to be here if something like that happens. So I think we're lucky. I do think we're a better community than that, but you can't just sit there and say that. You got to do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Councilman Curtis, those are all the questions that we're going to ask you today. Is there something that you'd like us to know about you or know about the position that you hold? We do record this and we post it on our Facebook, so we get several hundred views. So is there something specific that you feel like we didn't mention that you want to just give some information about?
No, I'm glad to be able to do this. On my running for this position, I didn't have any opposition, so I didn't get to participate in all the events that like James Wynn did, which James says I'm lucky that I didn't, but there's a lot of people that I didn't get to meet that he did. I would say maybe that if my name gets out there, especially in my district, that if I can help anybody with anything, I'm glad to do it. To me, I think that's part of the job. Is to be an intermediary between the city and we all know people that have big concerns or gripes, but they don't know who do I call to do this with. So I'm happy to serve that role to try to either put people together or explain what ordinances control this, or we don't have an ordinance for that. And if you want to get one, here's how to do it, you know. Yeah. And I have a question for you. Your 411 vote?
Vote 411.
Vote 411. When do you do that?
We do it every time there's an upcoming election.
Okay,
so in the fall, you know, when we had national and state, you know, we had a lot more. But, you know, here we had districts 1, 3, and 5 for councilmen, and then we had PISD Board of Trustees. So this one was a lot smaller. But every time there's an upcoming election, we always reach out to the candidate and ask them. And, you know, I like what you said just a minute ago when you said that connection. I think that what I'm hearing from people in our community is that when they know who represents their district and they know that person, they have more of a buy-in to keep them in that position. And absolutely that can happen. So I love what you said about that, because I think that's the most important thing to get people out to vote.
Yeah, I think I know we're probably not going to live in this time, but I think that the best government would be when everybody knew their mayor and city councilman, and they're not real sure who the president is right now.
Yes.
You know? But to me, involvement in your local community, I mean, that's where you live.
Right.
I mean, you really don't have a whole lot of control of what goes on in DC. A little bit more in Austin, some at the county level, but at your city level, you really can do things, but you got to be involved. You know,
absolutely. So. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Rhonda, do you have anything you want to add?
Just thank you again for your time. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I have nothing else, but have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ladies.
You have a great day.